The West's blind spot. How ideological infiltration threatens liberal civilization. This isn't emotional, it's historical, it's forensic, and it's overdue. For decades, Western nations have failed to distinguish between immigration and ideological infiltration. The result: a slow erosion of the very principles that define liberal civilization. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and secular governance. These aren't just under pressure. They're being strategically dismantled from within. 5 core points of incompatibility. 1. Islam does not support freedom of speech. 2. Islam does not support freedom of religion. 3. Islam does not support separation of mosque and state. 4. Islam permits deception toward non-Muslims via taqiyya. 5. The term Islamophobia is used to suppress criticism. These are not opinions, these are doctrinal facts, historically enforced, politically weaponized, and tactically deployed. Now we'll unpack each point, because history demands clarity, not comfort. 1. Freedom of speech. Islamic jurisprudence criminalizes blasphemy, apostasy, and criticism of religious figures in Islamic states. Speech is subordinated to religious authority. Western liberalism protects speech. Even offensive speech is a cornerstone of democracy. The divergence is not cosmetic. It's foundational. When adherents of political Islam enter Western societies, they don't confront the system head-on. They embed, they wait, they understand that overt aggression triggers resistance, so they proceed incrementally through education, media, and politics. They exploit short-term memory and institutional naivety, just as they did in Iran. The playbook is not improvised. It's rehearsed. 2. Freedom of religion. The Quran includes verses like, "Let there be no compulsion in religion." Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse 256, often cited to defend tolerance. But Islamic law punishes apostasy, restricts conversion, and enforces blasphemy statutes. Historically, non-Muslims lived under dhimmi status. Permitted but subordinate Islam tolerates religious plurality only within its own hierarchy. That is not liberty. That is conditional submission. In Western societies, this manifests as ideological indoctrination, targeting non-Muslim children through school systems, youth programs, and cultural outreach. The goal is not coexistence. It's conversion by attrition. 3. Separation of mosque and state. Islam is not merely a religion. It is a comprehensive legal and political system. Sharia governs contracts, criminal justice, family law, and governance. The Prophet Muhammad was both a spiritual and political leader. Western secularism demands institutional separation. Islam, by design, does not. Theocracy is not an aberration. It's the blueprint. And yet, in Western cities, Christian street preachers are arrested for disturbing the peace, while Muslim prayer groups block entire streets with impunity. In many mosques, imams openly declare that Islamic law supersedes Western law. These are not isolated declarations, they are ideological commitments. Many who fled Islamic regimes claiming persecution now work to replicate those same systems in the West. That's not asylum, that's infiltration. 4. Taqiyya and deception. Taqiyya refers to concealing one's faith under threat, originating in Shia Islam. It has been politicized in radical circles to justify strategic dishonesty toward non-Muslims. While not universally applied, the concept has been weaponized. The Quran does not explicitly endorse lying to non-Muslims, but the doctrine has been used to manipulate trust and obscure intent. Let's be clear. Not all Muslims subscribe to this tactic. Nations like Saudi Arabia, despite their own authoritarianism, do not welcome the kind of radicalized Muslims who seek to destabilize the West. They know the threat. they contain it. But in the West, we've welcomed it. Of the 2 billion Muslims worldwide, even a conservative estimate of 300 million extremists leaves us with a staggering reality. Tens of millions already embedded in Western societies. Whether in Europe or North America, the numbers are no longer negligible. They are strategic. 5. Islamophobia as a silencing tool. The term Islamophobia is not just a shield, it's a sword. It's used to silence critics, suppress facts, and protect ideology from scrutiny. Genuine anti-Muslim bigotry exists and must be condemned. But conflating critique with hatred is intellectually dishonest. From a Jewish perspective, this tactic is familiar. History has shown what happens when criticism of dangerous ideologies is silenced in the name of tolerance. Jews have lived through centuries of persecution, often because society refused to confront ideological threats until it was too late. The lesson is not to generalize. The lesson is to recognize patterns before they metastasize. Criminal accountability and statistical evasion. Western institutions have not just failed to confront ideological threats, they've actively suppressed the data that exposes them. In Sweden, over 58% of convicted rapists were immigrants, many from Muslim-majority countries. In Germany, over 1,200 women were assaulted in Cologne on New Year's Eve, with suspects overwhelmingly Arab Muslim migrants. In the UK, rape cases more than quadrupled during the peak of the migrant crisis, while the Muslim population grew by over 1 million. These are not isolated incidents, they are patterns. And when those patterns are excluded from official statistics or sanitized in media coverage, that's not compassion. It's dereliction of duty, ideological infiltration, the Iran blueprint. Iran didn't become a theocracy overnight. It began with ideological patience, institutional infiltration, and the silencing of secular voices. Once the tipping point was reached, the state became a religious instrument. Western nations, especially the UK, are now seeing similar signs. Islamist groups influencing policy under the guise of civil rights. Civil servants prioritizing religious loyalty over national duty. Terrorist ideologies dominating counterintelligence workloads. Nuclear ambitions among regimes that openly declare their intent to dominate or destroy Western civilization. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. This isn't a conclusion, it's a continuation. The threat doesn't end, and neither does the vigilance required to confront it. The West must stop confusing tolerance with surrender, because history doesn't forgive those who ignore its warnings. Because when they come for you, remember, you were warned.